Hi, thanks so much everyone for coming. My name is Nico, and I am a staff member at TTCriders. Um, yeah, by way of description, I am a white person with short brown hair. I'm wearing glasses and a black sweater today. I want to welcome everyone to our second Wheel-Trans workshop that will be all about the rights that you have on Wheel-Trans and what you can expect before, during, and after your Wheel-Trans trip. This is the second of two Wheel-Trans workshops that we are doing. The first one was last week, and that will be available on YouTube shortly if you were unable to make last week's workshop. So we'll be sending out that video link shortly. Next slide. Um, so before we start, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the land. I know this is a virtual workshop, so we may be on different treaty lands, but all three of the presenting organizations today, so that's TTCriders, Center for Independent Living Toronto, and Arch Disability Law Center. All three of the presenting organizations are located in Toronto, um, which is part of the Dish with One Spoon territory. This is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. The dish symbolizes the land we live on and benefit from, and the single spoon symbolizes caring for the land so that there is enough for all. CILT, TTCriders, and Arch all acknowledge our responsibility to work towards a more equitable, just, and inclusive city, especially for those who experience multiple forms of intersecting oppression, such as disabled, Indigenous, Black, and otherwise racialized people. Advocating for a better Wheel-Trans system and a more accessible transit system overall is part of that work that we are all doing. Next slide. So I also want to go over some practical information about the session today. So the workshop is meant to empower you with information and resources. We want to co-create a space where everyone will feel heard and respected, and we are committed to ensuring a safe space for all. Um, I see in the chat that I'll try to speak a little louder. Um, we have access supports today, so that is ASL English interpretation. The interpreter is pinned at the top of your screen, and cart captioning is also being provided. For privacy and time management, please stay muted if you are not speaking. We also ask that you turn off your video to preserve bandwidth, except for the hosts and ASL interpreters until the question and answers period. We will also be recording the Zoom meeting, but we will stop recording at the question and answers period so that you can ask your question and it won't be recorded. Next slide. We ask that you hold your questions until the question and answer section. If you'd like to ask a question at that point, you can either use the raise hand function, which should be at the bottom of your screen, and come off mute and ask your question, or you can type it into the chat box and we'll see it that way. If you need tech support, please select Dev Ramsewak in the chat box and they will assist you. We also know that talking about Wheel-Trans can activate difficult emotions sometimes. So if you need peer support, please feel free to send a message to Robin Simmons in the chat box and they will assist you. If you need breaks or to get up and move around, of course, please feel free to do that. Next slide. I also want to offer a bit of a disclaimer just before we get started. So this presentation is for information purposes only. The information is current as of today, which is April 29th, 2026. The information given is subject to change depending on possible policy, regulation, and law changes in Ontario. For the most current information, participants should check websites mentioned in the presentation, as well as the resources that we will go through at the end. The information provided in this presentation does not constitute legal advice, and we strongly recommend consulting a lawyer if you need specific legal advice on an issue related to wheel-trans. Next slide. So this is our agenda for today. First, the speakers will introduce themselves and the organizations that they're coming from. Then we will open it up to you to hear about any questions that you're coming into the workshop with, and any experiences with wheel-trans that you'd like to share. Then we'll go into the bulk of the workshop, which is, of course, sharing information about your rights on wheel-trans. And then at the end, we'll have plenty of time for a question and answer period, where you can ask specific questions and our speakers will answer them. And we'll aim to wrap up by 3 p.m. Next slide. And the last thing I want to say before I pass it over to the other speakers is that I'd like to acknowledge the Law Foundation of Ontario. They have provided the funding that allows us to put on workshops like this one. So the Law Foundation of Ontario has been advancing access to justice since 1974. Through granting and collaboration, the foundation invests in knowledge and services that help people understand the law and use it to improve their lives. The foundation also administers the Class Proceedings Fund, which provides cost assistance in class actions. Next slide. And I'll pass it off to Adam from TTCriders.
TTCriders is a transit advocacy organization that is membership-based and volunteer-led. We advocate for accessible, affordable, and dignified public transit for everybody, and we do have a special accessibility advisory committee, which I'm one of the co-chairs. And we are wanting affordable, dignified public transit that connects all of Toronto neighborhoods and helps connect the city to the GTA. Next slide.
Thank you, Adam. My name is John Massa. I am the Independent Living Skills Coordinator at the Center for Independent Living in Toronto. I'm a white disabled male who uses wheel-trans. Visual description, I have short black hair and I'm wearing a black t-shirt. So a little bit about the Center for Independent Living in Toronto. We're deeply rooted in the independent living philosophy and the nothing about us without us disability rights movement, which is a model used by the United Nations. CILT has a number of programs. First and foremost, information and referral and a volunteer program. We have a peer support and parenting with a disability network program. My program, which is independent living skills training or helping consumers with self-advocacy. We also have the Attendance Service Application Center, short form is ASAC. We also have the direct funding program, and we recently completed a project called IDEA, and we also have the GTA Disability Coalition, which works together with self-advocacy with advocacy on a systemic basis of trying to resolve disability issues in the community. And I especially want to thank Kate Welsh and Deb Ramsawak for their contributions to the workshop. And I'll pass it on to Gabe for the next slide.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Resnick. I am a staff lawyer at Arch Disability Law Center. I am a white male. I have brown hair, and I'm wearing glasses and a blue dress shirt. Arch Disability Law Center is a disability rights legal clinic. We are a specialty legal clinic representing persons with disabilities as well as organizations with disabilities in Ontario. Arch is dedicated to defending and advancing the equality rights, entitlements, fundamental freedoms, and inclusion of low-income persons with disabilities across Ontario. Arch is primarily funded by Legal Aid Ontario. I'll pass it over to, I believe, Adam.
It's actually me, Gabe. So
Oh, sorry, John.
no problem. So we look forward to hearing from you. So you could share this in the Zoom chat. First question is, are you or someone you know a wheel-trans or family of service user? And if so, what has been your experience? You could type that in the chat as the first question. And the second question is, what are you hoping to learn today that would help us inform us the type of things to address if we've missed anything? So please feel free to even put your questions in the chat, but we will answer them during the Q&A session. So we'll go on to the next slide. So before I talk about the scope of the workshop, this workshop's important because it's about knowing your rights and understanding where and how to advocate for yourself. And I would encourage, if you haven't applied to Wheel-Trans, it's important, that you know that to have hope, and this workshop is about empowering you with knowing your rights, with knowing how to apply and how to appeal, and to give you information and support so that you can use these strategies when you need it. So this workshop covers the rights on Wheel-Trans. What it doesn't cover is the rights on the conventional TTC vehicles. For example, if you must use conventional TTC service as part of your Wheel-Trans family of service trip. If you're interested in knowing your rights on conventional TTC vehicles, especially around fare enforcement, please attend one of the TTCriders Know Your Transit Right workshops. I'll pass it to Adam for the next few slides.
All right. Before your trip, you have the right to contest the eligibility category or condition that you've been assigned. More on this later. You can request a certain type of vehicle that meets your needs by calling customer service. You may have to get some forms filled out, but to make this work, but it can be done. You have the right to an unlimited number of trips per day, as long as there's a 45-minute gap between them. You still need to pay for each ride, unless you are traveling within the 2-hour transfer window. If there is no Wheel-Trans service available, you can take alternative transportation, but TTC will not reimburse you. Next slide. You can request a certain type of vehicle that meets your needs by calling customer service. Example, buses only, especially for individuals with bigger wheelchairs. Or there are people that do get sedan taxi only. Uh, um, um, and this might be because of accessibility reasons. Some vehicles may be better for you, more room if you have a bigger chair or often have groceries. I would say if you are bringing groceries, make sure that you do have some way of carrying them. The drivers are not allowed to help you with that, but you can add a grocery cart to your ride, so that room is more accounted for. Yeah, you might need a sedan taxi instead of an SUV, particularly if you have problems climbing into higher vehicles. You can request the front seat or the back seat depending on your access needs. Next slide. If you are booking online, you can still change your route from family of services to door. Um, but you should do this while booking a ride. It can get problematic if you try and do it in a modified way. Next slide. You are expected to arrive at your pickup location at least 5 minutes in advance of your scheduled pickup time. Some drivers will call you or knock on your door, some will not. Operators will wait 5 minutes after your pickup time if you are not there. If you do not appear, they will mark you as a no-show. You are also expected to ensure that your pickup location is clear of snow and ice, and that your destination is accessible. You can call 311 and request clearance, and there is a way on the 311 form to put when your next scheduled appointment is, so that they can. You still need to give at least a day or two notice, but they will try and help clear your area during that time. If your ride is late, Wheel-Trans expects you to wait 30 minutes before calling the priority line for assistance. Tip: you can call after 20 to 25 minutes because it's probably going to take you about 5 minutes to get through. Riders are assigned 8 points at the beginning of the month. You can use these points if you need to make a late cancellation, with this canceling within 4 hours of your trip, a cancel at the door, or a do not show or a no show. where you do not show is 2 points. If you cancel more than 4 hours ahead, you don't lose any points. Losing more than 8 points in a month results in a violation, and the first time you will get a warning letter. Multiple can result in suspension, but you are allowed to appeal them. Try not to travel if you're experiencing a contagious virus. If you are feeling under the weather and you need to travel and you can safely mask, that is encouraged. Next slide.
I think
The
this is me,
D.
Adam.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, so I'm going to be talking about accommodation. So the TTC is a service provider under the Ontario Human Rights Code. So the Ontario Human Rights Code protects persons with disabilities as well as other persons with other protected grounds such as race, ethnic origin, religion is another example, and it protects their right to not be discriminated against as a result of these grounds. So, for example, disability. So, as a service provider, the TTC has a duty to accommodate passengers. This duty includes working with the passenger to try to figure out what accommodations the passenger needs. This is referred to as the procedural duty to accommodate. And then they also have to implement the accommodations that have been agreed upon, and that is referred to as the substantive duty to accommodate. In addition to individual accommodations, the TTC has implemented universal design accommodations by implementing the laws under the AODA, which is the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. And by following those rules, the TTC vehicles, so all TTC vehicles that are applicable, so for example, all buses have ramps. They also have announcements both in writing and vocals. So they'll say like next stop is Jane Station, for example. As well as all vehicles have to have designated accessible seating. So that would include, often the blue seats on buses and subways. If someone requires additional accommodations or feels that there's problems with the universal design accommodations, for example, they try to take buses, but the ramp never deploys or the driver refuses to deploy the ramp, for example, they should make a request / make a report to customer service. A request if they have additional accommodations and a report if they feel like the accommodations that are built into the system aren't being provided. If you want further advice about the duty to accommodate your disability within the TTC, you can contact Arch, and our contact information is provided at the end of this presentation. If you want accommodations for other grounds, such as race, Arch is unable to provide assistance, but we could provide a referral to another lawyer who could potentially assist with those issues.
Thank you, Gabe. So this next part of the workshop is what to expect during your trip. Next slide. So when a trip does come and you booked a trip, it's always really important that you state your full name or your Wheel-Trans customer number to the driver. It's happened where a few times for me, a bus driver has come and my name is John, and there are a lot of Johns in this world. He's picked me up and it's the wrong John. So make sure they have your full name or your customer number, and especially confirming the address that you're going to. Other times there's been mistakes where they've picked up the wrong person, like myself, and I've gone to a hospital instead of going to my home. So it's very important. I know it sounds like a very basic thing, but to say, John Massa, are you going to like this grocery store, and to have confirmation with that. So that's the very first thing. Next slide. So Wheel-Trans has a number of policies that I'm going to be briefly touching upon. There's a lot more information, but these are the basics. And the first policy that they have is door-to-door service. And what that means is that the TTC driver or operator here must do the following: pick you up at your pickup point indicated when you booked your ride and the ride that was confirmed, and drop you off at the destination point where you've put in when you put in your ride. They will also walk you to the door if you request. The TTC driver or operators may also escort you to and from the Wheel-Trans vehicle by providing light assistance, and that means supporting you as you walk if you need it. What's also, important to note is that if you prefer that they not touch you, you have to be direct about that. Most drivers are good at asking, can I lift up your arm so I put on a seatbelt? But it's to your comfort level. If you don't want that, you must inform them and be direct about that. Next slide. So they also have a code of conduct policy. And these are guidelines concerning behavior, expectations for Wheel-Trans users to ensure safety and respectful environment for other riders and operators. And if these guidelines are not followed, it could lead to suspension of service and notes on a Wheel-Trans user file. And just to say that suspensions can be appealed. There'll be more information on this later. Next slide. So they also have a policy on mobility devices. You have a right to travel on Wheel-Trans using any standard mobility device, and I'll get into that into the next slide. As long as you can control and move it yourself, the operator or the bus driver are responsible for securing or stowing your mobility device once you're on board for your safety. Riders using unconventional mobility devices may be required to do a mobility device assessment to determine if their device can be secured safely on Wheel-Trans buses. I just want to make sure with the ASL, am I going at an okay pace? Excellent. Next slide. So the type of mobility devices. They have the standard devices, which are no larger than 31 inches wide and no heavier than 800 pounds. That's with the device and the customer on their device. That could be a standard wheelchair, manual, or electric. It could be a four-wheel scooter, a three-wheel scooter, a kneeling scooter, cane, crutches, braces, oxygen tank, strollers, walkers that are folding and non-folding. So some unconventional devices, any device that's not listed on the standard devices are such as segways, e-bikes, modified strollers, or extra large devices. Next slide. So, note on some wheelchairs or even scooters, if your chair or scooter is a transfer chair and doesn't have any tie downs, you may be asked to move to a seat. This is a fairly new policy enforcement. Next slide. So they have another policy, but who can travel with you? And basically, one support person can travel with you for free using a support person assistance card. And you can get those by applying by mail or email or in person at Bathurst Station. And the links will be at the end of this presentation for you to use. You could also have one companion travel with you, but they must pay regular TTC fare. You can have dependent children can travel with you, but must be registered with Wheel-Trans customer service. If 12 or younger, they ride for free. And you may have one service or emotional support animal as long as you inform Wheel-Trans in advance. Next slide. So they also have another policy of what you can bring with you. You're allowed to bring up 5 carry-on items per trip. You must be able to manage and carry your own carry-on items. Most drivers will not help you with your bags. So the type of carry-on item. So the first column, first row is a personal item such as a purse or backpack, and the amount allowed is 1 per customer. Shopping bags, 4 per customer. A bundle buggy, 1 per customer. Luggage, 2 per customer. Athletic equipment requires pre-approval at the time of booking. And if you have any non-standard equipment, such as a musical instrument, you can call customer service and get it pre-approved. So I'll pass it on to Adam to talk about the traveling outside Toronto policy.
You have the right to request destinations up to 1 kilometer outside of the city of Toronto. There are exceptions for specialized medical appointments in your region that are unavailable in Toronto. For further destinations, you will have to transfer to another specialized agency at a designated transit point. You can request that we'll transfer your files to other paratransit services, such as TransHelp in Peel region. Next slide. Yeah. Generally, operators cannot change your trip. There are some drivers that will maybe drop you off slightly away from your house, like if you're saying you're running errands or something. Some drivers won't. Some will be polite enough to try and call in and help you. But as a general rule, try to know your proper destination. Call the Wheel-Trans priority line the night before to get your trip. If it is a little thing that can maybe help you, you have the right to terminate your trip at any time. So you can ask the driver, unless there are medical exceptions that say you are not trusted for like dementia or other cognitive issues. But if you are of sound mind, you can ask to get off the vehicle at any time, and but then you'd be responsible for making your own way. And they must pull over at the first available opportunity to exit the vehicle. I'll just quickly say that can sometimes be helpful if you notice the Wheel-Trans driver is already driving through your neighborhood because they have another pickup on their computer before they're technically supposed to drop you off. Then you can ask them to terminate your ride, and if you're able to, if the weather's okay and you want to make the last block or 2 block trip home on your own. End of thought. Um, Paying for your trip, TTC fare, the Presto card or the paper fare. Support workers travel with a support person for free. More information on the application process can be found on the TTC website. There is also the fair initiative that can be used by individuals under 65 that have low income barriers. You can apply through the city of Toronto for that plan, and double check if you're eligible. Next slide. Okay.
Thank you, Adam. So we're going to take about a 10-minute break here. We look forward to your questions. You could put it in the chat. We will come back at around 1:50, maybe 1:55. And if people would like to put questions in the chat, that's great. And we'll return in about 10 minutes or so.
Hope everyone had a good break. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm going to start discussing a couple of points that were discussed earlier in this presentation around no-shows and late cancellations. So a customer can be suspended. So the TTC has a right to suspend the services of a Wheel-Trans customer for multiple late cancellations, no-shows, or canceling at the door. The TTC allows, as Adam explained earlier, 8 life happens points per month. A late cancellation subtracts on life happen points, and no shows and cancel at door cause 2 life happen points. So if you cancel late, it's 1 point, and you cancel, if you cancel at the door or you don't show up, it is 2 points that you lose. Following the first month of losing all your points, a warning is provided. If a customer continues to lose all life happen points in the following month or months, their suspension will increase per month. So after the first warning, the next month is a 7-day suspension, and then each month it increases with the max being a 60-day suspension. After 6 months of no violations, the record is reset. So there are exceptions to the late cancellation, uh, where you are allowed to cancel late and not be um, penalized or lose any strikes as a result of these cancellations. So those include if the Wheel-Trans vehicle is more than 20 minutes late, if there is increased snow or ice, or a medical emergency. A customer can request that a late cancellation, no-show, or cancel at the door occurrence be waived by calling the TTC customer service. And if you've been suspended and wish to appeal the decision, you can contact the customer service. Their information is on the slide. You can call them at 416-393-4111, or you can email them at wtcs@ttc.ca. So I'm now going to provide the rest of the slides about appealing your eligibility category. So once people are assessed, so they can be assessed into 3 different categories. Those categories are unconditional, conditional, and temporary. If they disagree with the type of category that was found, so for example, if you are found conditional but believe that you should be unconditional, unconditional meaning door-to-door services through Wheel-Trans with no exceptions and no times you have to ride conventional transit. So if you believe that your eligibility category is wrong, you have the right to appeal the decision. The appeal process is the TTC outlines the appeal process. So it starts off with writing to the TTC, advising them that you want to appeal your category. And then following that, there'll be a functional assessment, which I'll go into detail about. And then after that assessment, they may change your eligibility category or they may confirm your category. And then after that, there is an actual appeal hearing where once that decision is made, it's a final decision on eligibility. And you can appeal your category once per every 12-month period. Next slide. So if you disagree with your eligibility decision, you have 90 days from the date of the eligibility decision to appeal. We do recommend that if possible, you obtain a new medical note that explains why you cannot ride conventional transit. You can get the appeal form and a new note from your health care provider and then file those to the TTC. And once as outlined, once that's done, they will schedule a functional assessment. A functional assessment is different tests done by an occupational therapist to assess whether you can ride conventional transit. It's important that you bring, if possible, a printed copy of your documents with you during this assessment. Next slide. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about the functional assessment. So the functional assessment basically is they put you in a room and often ask you to go from point A to point B. They may also ask questions about your activities of daily living. So, for example, do you require support to have a shower? They also may ask you questions about your history as it relates to accessing transit, like whether you've been able to use conventional transit, such as regular TTC buses, in the past. And after they do the functional assessment, again, they'll make a decision of whether they agree with the eligibility category or disagree and say it should be changed. And if they confirm the category already agreed to by the eligibility, the eligibility decision, then it goes to the 3-panel member appeal hearing. Next slide. So at the appeal panel, it is 3 members. It is an occupational therapist, which is different than the one who assessed you. So the one who assessed you cannot be there at the hearing. The reason for that is because they already had made a decision previously, and so they would be biased if they were at the appeal panel. The next is a transit expert so a TTC staff member, and then there is a Wheel-Trans user who is from the ACAT. So ACAT is the Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit. So, and those are individuals who use Wheel-Trans and have a disability that requires them to use Wheel-Trans. So in preparing for your functional assessment, it's important that you prepare to answer some of the questions. So, as outlined, you may be asked to, explain your activities of daily living. You may be asked to explain what prevents you from riding conventional transportation, and you should just be ready to answer those questions. And yeah, and so we recommend that you go through if possible, with someone to, they can ask you those questions, and then you can, pretend as though you're answering them to the occupational therapist in preparation for the hearing. Sorry, the functional assessment. Next slide. So these are a list of questions that may come up. So how many years have you been using Wheel-Trans? Can you take Wheel-Trans alone? The reason that is relevant is because if you cannot take it alone, they may say that you need to take Wheel-Trans with a support person in order to ensure your safety. So another question maybe is, have you tried the family of services? So the family of services, as explained, is when you get a combination of door-to-door, so a combination of Wheel-Trans services and conventional transit in order to get from your pickup location to your drop-off location. And some other questions specifically related to mobility devices: how long does your device last? How long can you stand is another question they may ask. And they may also want to know whether or not your conditions are consistent or whether there are certain things that may trigger like an onset of symptoms. So if there's, sometimes disabilities can be, people with disabilities may not have all their symptoms at the same time. They may have certain things that trigger their disability, such as, epilepsy is a very good example of that. Next slide. So maybe next slide after that. So in filing a complaint, oh sorry, yeah. So this next slide is about filing a complaint with the TTC. So just to confirm before I move on to that, for the appeal, it's important um, to really, again, similar to the functional assessment, prepare and be ready to answer a number of questions, and you yourself are the one who's going to be talking. So you can have a representative with you. You can have, whether that be a support person, a doctor, a lawyer, to advocate for you. However, it's important that you're the ones answering the questions because the focus is on your ability to ride conventional transit. And one important thing to understand is that during this appeal process and during the eligibility process as well, the focus is on whether or not you can use conventional transportation, not whether you need wheel-trans. So when you think about how to answer the questions, the focus should be on why you cannot ride conventional transit rather than I need wheel-trans because of this. It's I'm not able to ride conventional transit because my disabilities prevent me from doing so. In addition, it's important that you do not pretend that or make it sorry, what I'm trying to say is that it's important that if you have disabilities that uh, like for example, mental health disabilities, you should also explain those disabilities if they impact your ability to ride conventional transit. So, we often, see situations where persons with disabilities may only focus on their physical disability, even though there are other disabilities that they have that impact their ability to ride conventional transit. So it's important that you focus on, your entire disability picture when you're making both for the eligibility but also for the appeal. Okay, I'll now hand it over to Adam about filing a complaint. And Adam, I think you're on mute, just letting you know.
Sorry, there's some construction noise in the background that's making me a little spastic. You can submit a complaint to TTC's service via online submission form or calling. Or there is I believe there is still the customer service email as well. And my screen just went blank. I'm sorry.
I can continue, Adam, if you want.
I got it. By calling customer service at I think you got the wrong is this excuse me, was this for filing a wheel-trans complaint or conventional transit?
Wheel-trans complaint.
Then the number you have here is wrong. The number for wheel-trans customer service, I I believe is, if I'm not mistaken, is 41 416-393 4111. The number that was given that you gave here is the conventional TTC customer service number. And your complaint should contain the date and time. If you want to provide your rider number, that can be helpful. If you and yes, yeah. And where you're going, a lot of this information that is on the slide is more for conventional transit complaints. So all you sort of need is your Wheel-Trans number. If you can get the vehicle number, especially if you are not the person that booked the ride, but maybe your family member or another connection or a companion on the ride. If you can get the bus number, that can also connect to the driver. And this can also be used in situations of lost and found. Next slide. Um, again, these slides seem to be from the wrong package. Um, um, but again, if you want to file a complaint about a Wheel-Trans driver, you should be able to do that through customer service. Our Wheel-Trans. So again, a lot of this information is more related to the regular TTC. Next slide. Okay. Wheel-Trans has several policies which were designed in consultation with the Advisory Committee for Accessible Transit, or ACAT, and the Legal, Human Rights, and Diversity Department. There is the Wheel-Trans Code of Conduct policy, the door-to-door policy, the Family of Services conditional policy, late cancellation, and no-show policy. There's also the carry-on item policy, which we mentioned, the fair payment policy, and the support person and companions policy. Next slide.
We'll pass it on to Nico now, Adam.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, so we just wanted to provide the phone numbers to contact Wheel-Trans if you're more comfortable contacting them over phone. So as Adam went over earlier, the customer service phone number is 416-393-4111. And you can call that line for general questions, eligibility requirements, questions about your application, and also questions about customer policies, like the ones that Adam just talked about on the last slide. You can also use that phone number to set up your favorite addresses list if there are places that you go often. And you can use it also to get assistance with service or to give your feedback. So again, if you have a complaint you can call this number 416-393-4111. To book a trip over the phone, you can call the reservations line, which is 416-393-4222. And again, that is to book a same-day trip or to confirm, reschedule, or modify a trip. Lastly, there is the Wheel-Trans priority line, and the number is 416-393-4311. You can call this number if your ride is over 30 minutes late, if you missed your Wheel-Trans pickup and you received a no-show and you require another ride, or to make a same-day cancellation. And here is the contact info for all of the presenting organizations today. So first, Arch Disability Law Center. You can contact them by phone at 416-482-8255 or toll free at 1-866-482-2724. Their TTY number is 416-482-1254. Or if you prefer to contact them by email, you can email intake@arch.clcj.ca or general@arch.clcj.ca. For TTC writers, you can call 416-309 or 309 9026 or email info@ttcriders.ca. And for CILT, their phone number is 416-599-2458, and their email is cilt@cilt.ca. And I think we mentioned this in the beginning, but we will be sending out PDFs of the presentation slides that we went through today, as well as a link to the recording of the presentation, which will be hosted on YouTube, and a link to a survey, an evaluation survey that will help us understand what we did well today and how we can improve our future workshops. So that would be a good space for you to provide any feedback that you might have on this presentation. Hi, sorry about that. My internet just went out. Yes, if we're on the last slide, yeah, we just wanted to offer a few thank yous. First and foremost to our attendees. Thanks for your time and participation. Also, a big thank you to Arch, CILT, TTC Writers, as well as our community partners and allies. A very, very big thank you to our ASL interpreters and our CART captionist. Couldn't have done it without you. And of course, a thank you to our funders. So that is the Law Foundation of Ontario, Legal Aid Ontario, United Way GTA, the City of Toronto, and IL Canada. That concludes our workshop today. Thank you all so much for coming. And again, we'll send out the slides and the video link shortly.